I have a clip for you from GB News today. It's from one of the segments from one of their presenters called Patrick Christie's. Now, Patrick Christie's takes one of these kind of late evening slots like 9 till 10 o'clock, which I suppose you could call prime time. And he does tend to have shocking stories, as it were. And he likes to have a bit of a ding-dong with some people when he's sitting in one of these couch settings where, you know, he's just having this open conversation, and it's obviously good for their ratings sometimes when it does kick off. But this that I'm about to show you here is manufactured outrage. It's not real. You can assess for yourself whether you believe that this woman is playing her part well, or whether she's actually playing a part, or whether this is how she is. You'd have to really make that judgment for yourself. But I think towards the end, she belies what she's doing when she starts smiling at people in the background, and a couple of times her mask slips. And so I believe, for that reason, that this is a performance. So what we were witnessing here was a performance. It was a performance by the lady, and even worse than that was the mock outrage at the end by Patrick Christie's here, who's pretending that he's had his feelings hurt. This kind of double nonsense that we're watching here, it's actually hard to believe that this has all been formulated and put in a segment there with the specific purpose of generating he said, she said on social media. And I suppose this is what GB News is very good at. But here you go, this is the clip.
The house next to you, or flat next to you, whatever it is, was sold, and then someone bought it, maybe the government, and turned it into a 5-bedroom HMO and put a load of new arrivals in there. And then outside on your street or at your local park, there were tents full of people who just arrived in this country. That wouldn't bother you?
Do you know what? If people are being criminal and they're doing activities that are criminal, that would bother me more. You cannot just criminalise everyone just because they look different from you or they speak a different language, and you have a perception and assumption which just, you know, brushes everyone in the same sort of way, just from a few sort of reasons. That is just dehumanising everyone.
I tell you why it wouldn't bother me, because it's a matter of scale. If you bring in a certain amount of immigrants that we can deal with, give them places to live, get them work, get them their children through school, absolutely fine. Where the problem lies is when you bring in so many that you can't administer your country.
That's government problem.
What about the other poor people who were born here?
Well, this is it.
You need to work with them too.
Fundamentally, I'll put this to you, only fundamentally, I personally feel that people who are British, i.e. born here, who have chosen to live somewhere, a particular part of the country, of their own free will, who've worked hard, paid their taxes and abided by the law, do have a right to be concerned about whether or not local properties in the area they've chosen to live in, because they like that area, are going to end up accommodating, say, like 5 different Somali families or something like that. I think they've got a right to be worried about that.
Why should it matter where they come from, who's living next to you? We are in a society that it shouldn't matter unless, of course, they're doing something illegal and wrong. Why are you picking on certain groups and making it a problem because they're like that?
So you don't. I'm not making it a problem.
Yes, you are.
I'm saying that
that's
I
what
think
gives
people
the
well, if you let me
riots
explain
are
myself,
happening.
and I happily will. I think that people have a right to want to protect the culture and the identity of where they currently live.
Culture now. So that's going to become law. What does that mean, anyways? We are all different. We all have differences. We're sitting here and we're all 3 different.
Absolutely.
So what are you talking about? You are now picking about certain people from certain groups, and you are actually now demonising them because that's a problem.
You might not
I do care.
British people
I care.
saying
Of
that they
course
have a right
I do.
to want their own country.
What, just by their own people? Is that what you're saying?
To be a more homogenous and less kind of breakneck speed, rapid demographic change. That might not bother you, but it does bother some people, and they have a right to be bothered by it.
Well, that's not British values to have that kind of problem when you have that kind of, like, association with colour and caste and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, God, I've never mentioned colour or caste once. I've mentioned culture. There are loads of different aspects to that.
There's so many different cultures within the British nationals. Do you know what I mean? You go to Wales, you go to Scotland, you go to up north, you go Midlands. It's all about that.
OK, what I will say about that is I think it's exactly that kind of attitude that leads to people getting incredibly angry, and it doesn't help.
No, it's your attitude that leads to people people that are jumping on the bandwagon and causing these riots.
Absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
Let's march through the middle of this, right? There's two elements that concern me. One is purely about numbers and how we administer the country and how we look after the poor people we already have here.
Exactly.
Britain is full of poor people, and there's no doubt that if you have this level of immigration, you're going to have to juggle the queue around, and that means people don't perceive it as fair. That's got nothing to do with colour or caste.
Well, you mentioned it. You mentioned Somali.
Colour or caste.
You mentioned Somali people.
I'm going to move on from this because we do have the rest of the show, but I do suggest that you listen more closely in future and don't put words in people's mouths in an attempt to make them seem racist when they're not. Because I tell you what, it brushes off me. It brushes off me. I don't care about being called those things because I'm not. So I'm not going to have it on my show.
Okay, so how to look at that? Well, first of all, we have to acknowledge that the lady that we've just watched there is a high-level communicator, able to switch on and switch off, and just generally go at it and debate very, very aggressively, using a brain. And, a competitor, no doubt there, and more than a match for Patrick on there. On GB News, they do have some okay slots where, something different can happen other than that's happening in the other mainstream. But nonetheless, what you've just witnessed has to be really categorised as it was a performance. And in some respects, it could be labelled as propaganda. But it wasn't real, which was really what bothered me the most about it. I was bothered most about the fact that we're just watching just rubbish. But of course, it's all rubbish anyway, isn't it? So I shouldn't be too surprised that this is rubbish. But it was just so obvious there. Thanks very much for your time. I appreciate it.